Welcome to episode 2 of season 2 of Discussions with the Social Worker. Today, we are chatting with Latarsha Haughton about her journey to founding her nonprofit, Breaking the Silence, Healing the Pain. Survivor, Thriver, Overcomer. Latarsha Haughton, founder of Breaking the Silence, Healing the Pain, endured decades of trauma, including sexual and emotional abuse. With God's help, prayer, and trauma-informed therapy, after 30 years, she broke her silence. Today, Latarsha transforms that pain into purpose and creates a community for other survivors. Her entrepreneurship work spans a transformational life coaching practice, guiding women as they release wounds and embrace their power, and serving as CEO of an assisted living community in Baltimore. We Care First Assisted Living, LLC. Latarsha sits on the board of directors at Women and Warriors on Route to Higher Heights Ministries and Journey to Joy Ministries, where she once received training in prayer ministry and abuse recovery. She holds an award for choosing to live from the Standing Still Alliance, an organization focused on domestic violence advocacy and awareness. Latarsha remains committed to studying biblical principles and rooting her ministries in the compassionate love of Christ. She resides in Tampa, Florida with her husband. Please welcome Latarsha Haughton. Hey y'all, it's Sarah, the social worker. Thanks for joining us today. We are now in season 2 of Discussions with the Social Worker, and today's special guest is Latarsha Haughton. She's a survivor, thriver, and overcomer. She is also the founder of Breaking the Silence and Healing the Pain, and I am so grateful that she's here with us today. Hi Latarsha, thanks for being with us.
Hello, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you. Can you tell our audience a little bit about you and Breaking the Silence, Healing the Pain?
Okay, Breaking the Silence, Healing the Pain is a nonprofit organization. We're 501c3 where we're bringing awareness. We're creating community for survivors of abuse, physical, sexual, and emotional, to connect, thrive, and heal. The approach is trauma-informed, prayer-centered, and rooted in biblical principles, which will uplift identity in Christ. And I started Breaking the Silence, Healing the Pain from my own personal experience, my own sexual trauma as being sexually abused as a child growing up. And it caused me to have make a lot of bad decisions for myself. And I found myself in like this dark place. And as I was going through a divorce, God just kept putting it in my spirit and telling me, you need to tell your story. So I used Breaking the Silence, Healing the Pain as a platform for people to be able to tell their stories and so that they won't feel shame or guilt from the things that happened to them in their past, because your past doesn't determine who you are today.
Thank you so much for sharing part of your story. I kind of wanted to touch on, I've seen your social media. You guys are doing a lot. You host panels, you do discussions, and you also have an online support group. Can you talk a little bit about that? And if people are interested in finding support, how can they reach out to you?
Okay, they can send a DM. Actually, we have a link on the social media pages. So on Facebook, we have a Facebook page. It's called BTS Healing the Pain. And we have the same page on Instagram as well. You can click the link in our bio to fill out and put your email address in, and you can, be introduced to the support group. The support groups is where we all get together and we're just talking about life. Talking about the things that you've experienced, and, it's just a safe place of encouragement where we're encouraging one another. I have a program which is going to be launched in December. I'm going to be doing a 12-week course on healing. that 12-week course, they would, we would be launching it, but they would be able to take the 12-week class as a part of being a part of the support group to help you through your healing, through any past trauma, and, just going to the next level in your life.
That's awesome. I'll make sure to put a link in the description box below so anybody that is interested can reach out to you guys and become a part of that. And also, congratulations on launching your class.
Thank
I
you.
also saw online that you are a co-author of a new book that's coming out. Is that correct?
Yes, it's called One Day at a Time, and it's a devotional where a group of women are talking about different things that they have experienced and how they was able to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
So my mantra is, I am no longer a victim, I am victorious.
I love
So, we're talking about the life stories that we've experienced and how we were able to get through it. And it's an encouragement because you have all these different women, they're talking about their stories, and somewhere in there you're going to see yourself, and you're going to be inspired because you're going to be like, wow, these women was able to get through these difficult challenges that they faced in life, and then you then apply it to yourself. So I was really excited to be co-author in that because that was my first one. And I'm looking forward to my book being launched by the end of this year as well.
Awesome. And where can people purchase your book or the devotional book? Is it through Amazon, on your website?
Oh, it will be through, you will be able to get it on Amazon, but for right now, I'm doing pre-orders. So
Okay.
if anyone is interested in pre-ordering it, they can DM me, have humility on Instagram or on Facebook as Latarsha Haughton. They can DM me and pre-order the book, and I can ship it directly to them.
Awesome. I will definitely make sure to get a link for that too.
Okay.
Congratulations again on that. For somebody who has been abused, but it happened a long time ago and they feel like if I speak out now, nobody will believe me. What tips or suggestions do you have for somebody who is having that internal struggle?
Well, from my past experience, I had that struggle, and that's why I was in silence for so long,
Mm-hmm.
because I had that same fear. But as I started thinking about my life and the decisions that I made, I had to I had to really just um I'm so sorry. I'm just trying to think of how I want to relay this, but for me it was very hard because I had sisters, family that really looked up to my abuser.
Mm-hmm.
I had um I didn't want to face the whiplash that would come from me coming forward.
Right.
So for me to break my silence, um, I had to do what was best for me. I
Mm-hmm.
had to stop looking at other people and focusing on how they was going to respond because I needed the freedom for myself. And
Exactly.
once I broke my silence, I did get a lot of whiplash. Like, this isn't true. Why are you bringing this up now? There were a lot of questions. But like I always said, your story is your story,
Yes.
and you have to take back your power so that you can be able to walk in your own truth. So I had to walk in my truth and tell my story. And, at first it was so hurtful, but the more that I told my story and the more that I was seeing how my story was helping other people, and people were saying, how did you break your silence? How did you get the courage to do that? And I was listening to Brene Brown, and she talks about vulnerability. And she says, if you are able to tell your story, then that takes a brave person because it's hard for people to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And so, listening to that, it helped me so much to be a brave person, and it does take a lot of vulnerability. So once I broke my silence and told my story, I felt free. And it didn't I didn't care or worry about what other people thought or how they felt, or even if they said, oh, this is not true, because I know my own truth, and I had to break away from that shame, the guilt, that suppresses you in such a dark place. And now, that I broke my silence, I feel free. I'm so happy, I'm able to live now and not just exist.
Right. Yeah. And I love what you said. You're a survivor, a thriver, and now you're an overcomer. And I think it's so beautiful that you have found a way to have your faith and also complement being trauma informed as well. I think sometimes people in the helping profession or in social work, they try to steer away from people's spirituality because they don't want to be in a controversy. But I think faith is such a healing mechanism for some people, and I think that you guys are doing a great job of marrying the two. Thank you so much for doing that. Can you talk a little bit more about how you use faith within the trauma-informed care as well?
Well, my faith goes way back from being a little girl. I was, as a little girl, I remember my mother taking me to church, and I would come from church and would start telling kids in the neighborhood, like everything that I had learned from church, not that I knew anything, but I will always tell them that. I remember being a little girl, just walking down the street and just praying, and it's not like anybody taught me that, because I know my grandmother went to church all the time, but I had never seen her pray. But it was something inside of me, that just always had this connection with God, my higher power. Right. So, I just always had it in me for whatever reason. And, I went through life. I didn't live a perfect life at all, but I just had this spiritual being. There was times that I was going to a church, and it was very religious. And even in my book, I write a chapter on religion versus spirituality, because I feel like, the religion world, I feel like they're very judgmental, where the spiritual role embraces who they are and embraces their mistakes, and know that God still loves them no matter what, and sometimes there are consequences from the decisions that we make in life, but, just having that faith in God that He will get you through, knowing that you have experienced all these different things. And sometimes we want to blame God and like, God, if you're so this God, why did you allow me to go through those things? And now when I look at my life and look at, I went through those things, because now I can turn around and help those that's going through it now, and that went through it and did not know how to get to where I am today. So I'm grateful, like I don't have the regrets, I don't have, I'm not complaining, I'm just, at this point in my life, I'm just thriving, and I'm just grateful that God has got me to this place, because it was not easy. I came from a very dark place. Even, being in such a dark place where I wanted to take my own life, and I've even attempted to take my own life, but it was only God that was able to get me through, because I was able to keep my eyes on Him, and He was helping me. But I had to go through that place, and I had to feel those feelings, because if I didn't feel those things, how would I be able to help someone else to go through those feelings and understand it? I'm as a therapist, social worker, we can sit with people, talk to them, but if you have not experienced it, you can't say I can relate.
Exactly.
In my situation, I can say I can relate. I understand what you're feeling, because I've experienced it. So I embrace the feelings now, where as in the past, I would suppress those feelings, but now I embrace them. Okay, this feeling, and I get through it, just by holding on to my faith. And once I overcome it, I look back and say, yes, I made it through. you know. So I think that that is, just having faith that God is going to get you through and see you through it. He's not going to bring you to it if he's not going to get you through it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's so important that, like you said, social workers, therapists, we acknowledge that our clients do have some spiritual connection. And if that's a part of their healing process, we have to acknowledge that and allow them to feel things and to connect with their higher power.
Right.
You recently did a panel, a men's panel, on how life affects relationships. And sometimes I think when we think abuse, when we think domestic violence, when we think pain, we think it's only the women that are victims. But sometimes we don't think like men also feel pain. So what was kind of your takeaway from that panel? And for men who are watching this, what suggestions do you have for them as well?
I took away so much. Um, I feel like we have so many programs for women,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and there are not enough programs for men.
Yes.
Um, and I think that society has set us up where we think that they are invincible, like
Mm-hmm.
they don't have feelings and they can't talk about their feelings. They can't be vulnerable because they have to be macho,
Yeah.
and this is the way that society makes us think. And, I wanted to use this platform to help men to be able to see that, yes, you can be vulnerable. Yes, you can talk about those things. I have friends that, talk about relationships and why men respond, why they are wired the way that they're wired. And, I wanted to hear from them. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to hear their voice. How are you feeling?
Right.
What what is breaking your silence? How would that help you? How can you breaking your silence help another brother,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to be vulnerable and talk about their feelings, because when they talk, it's just about, hey man, how you doing? You want to do this? What's going on? But they don't talk about, have those deep discussions like women do.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like if we put these men together, they're able to talk about things that they're going through, and then other brothers can help them heal right on that platform. And that's what I was hearing, that Derek, he's a life coach. He was just talking about his past trauma and talking, through that. And then other guys in the group had experienced the same thing that he experienced. And he was explaining to them how he was able to get through. How did it affect their relationships with their women, with their mothers? How was their relationship with their mothers growing up? How has that affected them in their marriage and in their relationships with other people? And, even just other friends, people talked about not being able to have their fathers there growing up. My husband was on a platform and he talked about how the divorce from his parents, when he was in his last, I think it was 11th grade or something, where he was going through their divorce. He felt like, why should I care about relationships? They're going to break up anyway. So it affected his life. It affected different relationships. So we talked about that childhood trauma that
Mm-hmm.
transfer over into your adult life. And I just, what I took away was men have feelings too.
Yes. Men have feelings too, people.
Yes. And they needed to talk about things that they needed to get out. I had a friend on there that cried, and to see a man cry, to get that out, it's okay for a man to have an ugly cry. We need that. Just like
More
we
men
have
need to do
ugly
that.
cries. So, just to be able to see them helping each other to heal, talking on a deep level and not just that surfacey stuff. It's just so needed.
Yeah.
It's so needed. And I just wanted to use that platform to help people to see that I'm just not helping women. I want to help all people, all hurt people, you know.
Yes.
So, and it's just this learning and teaching, it's incredible how these men were able to even build relationships outside of that platform at this point. And it's good to see it.
That's such a feel-good story. I love that. And thank you for doing that. Thank you for helping men heal, all people heal. I think that's such a beautiful thing. What about men who were not fortunate enough to be part of this panel? What is something that they can do at home while we're, in this pandemic? What is something that they could do to start their healing process?
Acknowledge that they need healing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first step, is acknowledging. I think that a lot of times we spend our lives on pointing a finger and saying, you want to fix everybody else. That's that codependency. But it takes a lot of energy to turn your finger around and face you.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you have to deal with yourself, you go into a whole nother level. You're trying to pull back these layers. So my first step would be acknowledging that something is not right, and once you're able to acknowledge that, then I would seek therapy, and, seeking therapy, people look at it, oh, this is for people who, other people who got these big issues. But no, like, talking to a therapist really helps.
Mm-hmm.
It helps because it helps you to get in touch with those things that trigger you. You can look for triggers, things that may trigger you. And generally, everybody that I talk to, when they have triggers, it usually takes them back to their childhood.
Yeah.
It always takes you back to your childhood. Some people, and I'm just going to give you a prime example, like, say, for instance, if there was a man who grew up with a dad and he fixed his truck a certain way,
Right.
Generally they're going to fix that truck that same way that dad fixed that truck. And they think that this is the only way because dad did this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always something that takes you back to growing up.
Right.
If you can acknowledge that something is wrong, there's some triggers here, and I want to find out what this is. And, like, going to therapy is the first step in helping. I know that I recommend a lot of people to read the book called Safe People. Safe People is a book by Dr. Towson Cloud. Yes, Cloud and Towson. They are the authors of Safe People in a book called Boundaries. Safe People teach you the 21 traits of a safe person. Mm-hmm. And as I was reading Safe People, I was looking at Safe People as if I was like, oh, wow, this is this person, this is this person. But as I kept reading, I said, wow, now I'm learning that I'm not always a safe person. So it teaches you who is not a safe person. And then when you're not being a safe person, and it teaches you how to avoid people that are not safe for you. Mm-hmm. And the boundaries, I recommend boundaries because boundaries teach you how to set boundaries for yourself and for other people. So, and it's just getting you to a healthy start of coming into being a healthy person, because hurt people hurt people. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure that you are providing a safe place for yourself, because we can be self-destructive when there are things that we need help with. And so boundaries can help you to create those boundaries for yourself and for other people. So I would start off by just saying, acknowledging you need help, going to therapy, investing in Safe People, in a book called Boundaries.
Yeah, definitely. I'll make sure to put those links to those books as well. Okay. What, for a spouse, a partner, a friend who is supporting somebody who is now breaking their silence, what can we do to make sure that we're not being harmful or re-traumatizing by making them share more than they're comfortable with? What suggestions do you have for the support system?
Okay. Are you asking, like, what can a person do to help a person that's breaking their silence?
Right. So, like, let's say, I guess for husband-wife purposes. Your husband is disclosing to you and they are ready to start therapy. Kind of what we just talked about acknowledgement and all of that. What can the person on the receiving end who is in a relationship with that person do to support them as they are healing?
Listening. I think that the most powerful thing you can do is listen. Mm-hmm. Even listen to the things that's not being said. Allow them to know that you are being attentive and you're listening, that you are just being a safe place. Even on the men's panel, and that was one of the questions. So we were asking, you know, what are some of the things that, like, if you're breaking your silence, what can a woman do to support you, or even a man, and vice versa. The answer was to be patient, be a safe place for that person, keep things in confidence. If this person is confiding in you, that they can trust that, you know, this is their story and it's their story to tell. So it's not your place to share it with anyone else. And just letting them know that you're here for them. And that if it's anything that they need, you're here to support them. And I think the biggest thing in the beginning stages is just listening, you know, and just having empathy for that person. Just listening, having empathy. If they ever asked you, you know, you can tell them if they ever wanted you to go with them to therapy, or if even if it's just to drive them there, you know, just so that you can be there as a support, not that you have to go inside, but just so that they can have that support when they come out. Because sometimes when you leave therapy, you can feel so overwhelmed because getting all of this stuff out, it causes so many different emotions on the inside. So then, you know, you want to sometimes release it and talk about it more when you're leaving therapy. You know, I've had people to go with me to therapy and, you know, drive me there and want to hear what I had to say and cry with me if I needed to cry with. Just being that good support system, not being pushy, you know, and letting them take their own pace. You have to be patient. Because it's hard to break your silence. It's not an easy thing. You know, it took me many years. My childhood abuse went on and I didn't talk about it until 2016.
Right.
That is when I first told my story.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for giving those tips and suggestions. Do you do one-on-one sessions? Is it a group setting, or is it just strictly through the online support program or the support group?
Well, I am now a certified life coach.
Okay.
And I do one-on-one sessions.
Okay.
And the support groups is a support group of a group of women. And, you know, they're talking about different topics and different things that they may be going through, experiencing. It's a judge-free environment. And we make sure that it's a safe place for people. Because I know that for me, I needed that safe place, you know, and I didn't always have that safe place. So I am creating a safe place for women and men to be able to come and be able to talk about these things, because, you know, for so long I was around people who always was very surfacey and didn't want to talk about those deep things, you know, because a lot of times people want to feel like they got it all together, you know, and that's okay, you know, but it comes a time in your life where you get tired of it, you know, and you just want to get this stuff out, and we want you to get it out.
Yeah.
So, you know, hopefully, you know, that once this program is up and running, we'll be launching it in December.
Yes.
Actually, it's going to be launched for my 50th birthday, December the 9th. So, and, you know, this is just what I just really need to create this safe place for people to be able to talk about these things and not talk about that surfacey stuff, but getting that stuff out so they can get the healing and live that life of purpose, you know, not just existing, but just actually living and being happy and loving what you're doing. You know, that's where we want to get people.
That's awesome. You are such an inspiration and a role model. I mean, especially for me, I read your bio. You're a founder of Breaking the Silence, Healing the Pain. You're a CEO. You sit on various boards for many different organizations. And I think that that is so wonderful that you are able to overcome so much and still take the time to help so many people. And I really, really appreciate. So thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you for having me. And I love what I do. And I think that I call it turning my pain into purpose.
Yes.
So being able to go through
remarkable slogans.
Yes.
I love it.
So just being able to turn your pain into purpose, and not allowing your pain and your past to keep you in bondage. I had to break those chains off of me, and be free of all of that stuff from my past pain, past hurt. And God allowed me to turn it into purpose. Mm-hmm. And now I can help other people because I've experienced that pain. I know what it feels like, and it's not about just because even though I've experienced a sexual trauma, but it's just trauma in general. Like, trauma affects people in so many different ways. Yes. And now, I'm able to see it so clearly, and I've experienced it. I lived it. So I know that if I can get through it, anybody can. Anybody can.
Right. That's awesome. So before I let you go, I like to do this with all of our guests. The first question is, what did you take away from today? And the second question is, what do you want our viewers to take away from our conversation together?
I want to take away, I am encouraged by you. I'm encouraged by you because you are taking initiative to find out about different organizations, and you are, doing your edits, you're doing these videos, and you are just bringing awareness, and you want to help people. And when I see a person with a heart like that to want to help, I'm inspired, and I'm inspired just by you even contacting me and doing your research and looking at the page. And it's inspiring me to know, wow, God, somebody is watching, even if it's just one person, and they're able to walk away impacted and be inspired by Breaking the Silence and Healing the Pain. I'm doing the right thing.
You are. You're definitely doing the right thing. And I hope that you continue on this amazing journey of helping so many people break the silence. And like I said, you're a huge inspiration to me. And congratulations on all of your big milestones that you're hitting and about to hit. But then the last question is, what would you want us to take away? If we just took away one thing, what would you want us to take away from today?
Break your silence. Take off the mask and be your authentic self.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I want people to walk away, because I feel like we walk around with a mask all the time, and we are so afraid. It's just fear of being who we really are. Yes. Take the mask off and be your authentic self, and use whatever pain you have experienced in your life, turn it into purpose, and do exactly what it is that you are called to do. Walk in your truth, and no longer allow your past to dictate who you are. Be all you can be.
That's wonderful. I feel like I'm going to walk out of here and go be a whole new woman today.
Well, that's what you need to do.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much, Latarsha. Thank you for everybody who's watching today. And don't forget to follow Latarsha Haughton and Breaking the Silence, Healing the Pain on Instagram and Facebook. And I will have everything linked in the description below. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for supporting Discussions with the Social Worker. To stay connected and current with our content, follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks, y'all.